Steinfeld. I'm the director of the Watson Institute. And because time is tight, I'm going to be very rude, and I'm going to do a very quick introduction of our guests while they're still getting settled. It's my great pleasure and honor to welcome back to campus Governor Gina, the 75th Governor of Rhode Island, who took office in January of 2015, continues through the present. We're so thrilled to have you back here to campus today for this discussion with Kathy Russell, Ambassador Kathy Russell, about politics, policy, and leadership. I'm delighted that the Watson Institute is co-sponsoring this event with the Taubman Center for American Politics and Policy, and I just want to remind everybody that this event is being live streamed. I'm going to keep my introduction very brief, but as you all know, Governor Raimondo has received not just recognition within Rhode Island, but national recognition for her efforts to push entrepreneurship and education and job creation and retooling for a new economy. This is obviously important not just for Rhode Island, but for the whole country and for actually the broader global community. Governor Raimondo had previously served as General Treasurer of Rhode Island, and prior to that had founded Pt1 Capital, Rhode Island's first venture capital firm. Joining the discussion today and interviewing Governor Raimondo is Ambassador Kathy Russell. Familiar to many of you, Ambassador Russell was U.S. Ambassador at Large for Global Women's Issues from 2013 to 2017, and has long specialized in global women's issues of gender and security, and issues of gender and development. I say you're familiar with Ambassador Russell because she's been a critical educator for us at the Watson Institute and at Brown generally. With that, let me turn it over to you, Ambassador Russell.
Thank you, Ed, very much. It's nice to see you all here, and Governor, thank you so much for doing this. And Ed and I first were talking about the ideas of women's participation, how to talk about it. It seems so obvious that with, at a university where we have the second really impressive woman president, to be able to talk to a woman governor made a lot of sense if you want to talk about the importance of women's leadership. So thank you so much for doing that. I wanted to start with a question about your own journey. You've obviously been successful in business. You were treasurer of the state and now the governor, one of only 6 women governors in the country. And I'm just curious about whether you have been surprised along the way at the number of women who've been participating in leadership levels in the areas that you've been working. So few women governors, very few women at the top of politics across the board. And even in business, we see this as a chronic problem. And I wonder if you've seen that in your experience and whether that was somewhat surprising to you.
So, hello everybody. Hello. Great to be with you. And thank you for having me. It is surprising. You would think that in 2017, that power would be more evenly distributed and influence more evenly distributed than it is. And it's not. Now, prior to getting into public service, I was in the venture capital business, which is also very male dominated. In my time, in my career, I probably sat on, 12 or 15 corporate boards. And maybe in that time, 1 or 2 times had another woman on board with me. And maybe once I backed a female CEO. So it isn't just politics. I think it's surprising when you look in the classroom, roughly evenly distributed, men and women do well in classes. In law school, I went to law school, same thing, half men, half women, lots of women on the law journal, lots of men on the law journal. But then as you go to higher positions and positions of leadership, there is a lack of diversity, which is a problem. And it's surprising. Not surprising in that I didn't know it, because you know it, but surprising to live it. This year, every year at the beginning of the year, the president invites the nation's governors to a dinner at the White House, and then a meeting with the president and meeting with the cabinet. And this year, it was surprising, I have to say. It was almost an uncomfortable feeling at the private meeting in the White House with the president and his cabinet. Not every governor goes, so there were just 2 of us. Mary Fallon, who's the governor of Oklahoma, a Republican, and myself were in the room at the time. And all guys. And when you look around and you think, wow, by the way, all white. So all of a sudden the president's, and we had the dinner on the Sunday night, and you can bring a guest, I brought my daughter, and then the meeting the next day, and the president got up and he said, hey, it was a great party last night, it was great to be with all of you and your wives. And so, that's real life.
Well, one of the things in my job, President Obama used to always talk about, and Secretary Kerry as well, you can't play a game with half your team on the bench. That was kind of the analogy that always made sense to them. And we know that when there are more women in leadership, you have more representative decision-making, obviously. But there's also research to show that when you have more women in leadership, you have greater attention paid to issues like education and health issues. And so I think while we all know that the women's participation in our Congress is low, it's about 20%, which puts us way down in terms of other countries in the world relative to other countries. We have low participation at sort of the C-suite and board level for women. But I guess the question really is, okay, so what? Like, does it make a difference? As I said, the research shows that it does make a difference in the legislative branch if you have less participation. But I'm wondering, from your perspective, from what you've seen, why does it matter that we don't have more women in these situations? What's the consequence if you go to the White House and there are 2 women there? I mean, does it make a difference, and how does it make a difference?
It absolutely makes a difference. I mean, a couple things. Just yesterday, yesterday was my 1,000th day in office as governor, so we kind of celebrated that and looked at what we've done and what's still left to do. But I ended the day at a really high-quality child care center in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Anyone from Rhode Island here, by the way? Any Rhode Islanders? Nice, great representation. I like that. The rest of you after graduation should stay here. I'm not joking. We have this new thing called a Wave Maker Fellowship. Do you know what this is? If you're getting a STEAM degree and you work in Rhode Island for 4 years in a STEAM field, we'll pay back your student loans for 4 years. Check it out. Stay in Rhode Island. That's my commercial. Back to your question. She thinks I'm crazy, but it's true. I can't build a great economy without top talent. Start your business. Start a business. Start it here. So work at a company. Do it here. Anyway, I ended my day at a child care center yesterday, and since I've been governor, I've increased funding every year for Head Start. You guys know what Head Start is? Yeah, early childhood. And also for child care subsidies. You'll see when you get there, it's incredibly expensive. And so I went yesterday, I was there, I gave ice cream to the kids, and I watched the moms and the dads pick their kids up from this child care center. And you know what? That relates to the economy. Because if you don't have a reliable, affordable, safe place to drop your kid off, you're not going to be able to go to work on a consistent basis and be a good employee. I know that because I have 2 kids. I'm a working mom, like most moms. And I know full well that I'm able to focus on my job if my children have a safe, secure, affordable place every day. Plenty of men realize that as well. I think I'm more in tune with it. And also I made the link. Investing in childcare isn't a woman's issue. It absolutely relates to the economy. Because moms and dads need to go to work. But they also need affordable childcare to make it happen. So I made that link between the economy and childcare. Also, I can tell you from personal experience, almost every time I've made a bad decision or my administration has made a mistake, it's because I was blindsided by something I didn't see. Like a complaint came out of left field, the way we communicated a message, we had a tin ear to some issue, and if I had done a better job of having more diversity around my table, someone would have brought that up. Hey, Gov, have you thought about this? And I said, gosh, if I had just had more diversity around my table, someone would have prevented me from rolling this out poorly or making this mistake. So absolutely, it's not just being politically correct. Leaders make better decisions if they have a diversity of viewpoints around their table.
I agree with that, and I would see that in other countries as well. And we would say to them, it's not that there's some magic about being a woman or not. It's that it's half the population. It's that you want all the views represented if you want to make reasoned decisions about what needs to happen.
You know, it goes the other way too. I mean, if you had a table of only women, or a table of only immigrants, or a table of only young people, or only old people, you just get one point of view. Whereas if you have a diversity around you, you're just going to hear it from all angles, and you make a better decision.
Emily's List, I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. It's an organization that helps women who are interested in running for office, progressive women. And they have been reporting that they have record numbers of women coming to them, absolute record numbers, saying they want to run for office, which is all great. But there's research to show, which is I think is so interesting, that on average it takes 7 requests to a woman to encourage her to run for office before she decides to run. Whereas men are like, yeah, I'll run, why not? You know, they don't even hesitate. They think they're ready, whether they're ready or not, they just go for it. And that women really need to be encouraged. And I'm curious about whether that...
E.g. the man in the White House.
No comment. Did that happen to you? And I guess more broadly, how do we make it easier for women to say yes? You know, when people come to them, how do we encourage them to just take the risk, jump in? I mean, having seen how hard it is, and I know it is hard, and we did a lot of work on kind of online harassment of women candidates, because we would see that, and they would get it in really vicious ways. So I appreciate that it's difficult sometimes for women, but how do we get them to the point where they feel more comfortable saying yes to these questions?
Well, you put your finger on it, it's risk. It's highly risky. I mean, no matter how good of a candidate you are, there's not necessarily a great relationship between are you the best person for the job and will you win? So it's a risk. And women just have a harder time taking risks.
In business, too.
In business, too. It's not just politics, it's risk. I mean, I think that's also why you don't see as many female CEOs. You have to take the risk, fear of failure, you have to go for it. Oh, but by the way, there's lots of research which says, you know, women are more quickly blamed for things. So it's harder to take a risk if you're going to be easily blamed. I find that more often than not, people are more forgiving of men. Give them another shot, give them another chance. And so, you know, it's people realize that. I think more people have to do it. That's part of the reason I stay in it, actually. You know, more people have to do it. So you have, the more female governors there are, the more there are going to be. And it's just really important to get in the game and stay in the game.
And take the risk and jump in. I mean, what's the worst that happens? You lose, which is not fun. I'm not suggesting that's fun. How would you describe your leadership style? If you had to, are you a sort of person who brings people together? I mean, how do you think about that? And do you think about it in any way with respect to your gender, or is it just a more general sort of approach that you have to leadership?
You know, I think it's evolving. I would say I have a bias toward action. So I'm a leader that's biased toward action, which means taking risk and sometimes not getting it right. But also your leadership style, I think, has to apply to what you're leading. So I've taken over a state that needs a lot of help. You know, when I was elected, the day I was elected, we had the highest unemployment rate in America, the worst roads and bridges in America, and you know, by a lot of measures, we had been kind of stuck for 20 years. So that's affected my style of leadership, which is go, 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 move, get a lot done, because I felt I had to do that. So anyway, also I do kind of over-communicate. I mean, people have told me I'm the most successful governor we've ever had. I'm in the press almost every day. I do a lot of candid TV. I do a weekly live TV interview.
Social media.
I do lots of social media, lots of out and about. And I think that's important. It's very hard today to reach people. So you have to be out more than you ever have been.
So I want to ask you a question about this last election, which I think was a significant election for women. I mean, obviously there were many, many issues that we had to consider in that election and that voters took into account. But at the end of the day, we were choosing between a woman who would be the first woman president who had a long track record on women's issues and a man who, I guess to be generous, had not demonstrated a lot of interest in women's issues. I'm a diplomat, okay? But I guess my question, for me, at election night, I was in Indonesia. And a couple of weeks before that, I'd been traveling through Asia, and people kept saying to me, what's happening in America? We don't understand what's happening. Like, I can't really answer that question because I don't really know. But I did take it slightly personally, not for me as a person, but that we were in a position where our country would elect somebody who didn't seem to care all that much about women's issues versus somebody who obviously had demonstrated a lot of concern and dedication to making things better for women. And I realize that, as I said at the outset, it's a much broader set of issues that were being considered, but it seemed to me in some ways some of the things that he had said might be disqualifying on the gender side. But I wonder what your reaction, I'm appreciating that I was probably more sensitive to that than most people, given what I do, but I'm wondering if you had a similar reaction or a different reaction or...
So I think they should have been disqualifying. I had a similar reaction. I think a lot of people did, and they should have been disqualifying. By the way, I think you're seeing it play out. I think it's a very real question. Is he fit to be president? Does he have the temperament and respect for humanity and commitment to basic human values, to human rights, to be president? And it's playing out. Why did we as a nation allow it to happen, is a complicated answer. I also think, let's be honest about what happened. I mean, she won the popular vote. We now know that the Russians were meddling. There were a few battleground states which were lost by very small amounts. So some of it is just tactically. I think a better campaign, the same two candidates, with a better campaign, she would have won. Different result. Having said that, the question is, wow, how could it even be that close? And I think that's just a testament to how divided the country is, as much as it is gender.
Let me ask you about one of the consequences of that, which has been interesting as someone who follows politics to see, which is that the states are now stepping up on a lot of issues that they would not traditionally step up on. So climate, obviously, immigration, even trade. And it's interesting to see it. I think it's a positive movement in some ways.